You know that feeling? You're trying really hard to follow English, maybe watching a movie or listening to something like this, or even just chatting with someone native, and it just feels like they're talking a mile a minute, like the words are all smushed together.
Oh, absolutely. That experience where you maybe recognize individual words, but the whole sentence just rushes by. It's super common.
It's so frustrating. You know the vocabulary, but you just can't quite grasp the flow.
Exactly. And that's really what we want to unpack today. It's not just about speed, actually. It's more about how spoken English naturally connects and changes.
Right. So, in this deep dive, we're going to tackle that head on. First, figure out why it sounds so fast, but more importantly, give you some, really practical tools.
Yeah, actionable strategies you can use straight away. Things to really boost your listening skills, build up that vocabulary, but in a natural context.
Get a handle on those pronunciation details, the intonation.
And ultimately feel way more confident when you're the one speaking English.
Totally. Because understanding feeds into speaking, right?
Definitely. So for this, we've looked at quite a mix of stuff. Some linguistic explanations about how speech works, advice from language teachers, podcasts, articles.
Insights from language learning platforms, too, basically trying to get a well-rounded view.
And the idea is to boil it all down for you, cut through the noise, give you clear, manageable things you can actually do.
Yeah, none of that super dry academic stuff, just the practical bits that'll help you have those aha moments.
Exactly.
So our mission today, give you the know-how, the techniques. You can jump into those faster English conversations and feel, well, more comfortable, more involved.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, let's get into it then. First big question. Why does English sometimes sound like it's on fast forward?
Well, a huge part of it comes down to this thing linguists call connected speech.
Connected speech.
Yeah. Basically, when we talk naturally, we don't usually pronounce each word perfectly and separately.
Yeah.
Like you'd hear it read from a dictionary list.
Right, the words sort of flow into each other.
Precisely. They blend together. It creates this continuous stream of sound, which is more efficient for speaking, but can be tricky for listening if you're not tuned into it.
It's like music, kind of. Notes flowing together, not just separate plinks.
That's a great analogy. And one source we looked at breaks down the key ways this happens.
Oh, yeah. What are they?
Well, first there's linking. That's where the end sound of one word connects directly to the beginning sound of the next.
Okay. Like how?
So, go on might sound more like going on. The sounds link up.
Go on. Okay, I can hear that.
Then you've got sound reduction. This is where small, usually unstressed words get shortened. Think I'm going to.
Becomes I'm gonna? Yeah, classic example.
Exactly. That too just shrinks. And sometimes sounds can just vanish entirely. This is called dropped sounds.
Like they just disappear.
Yeah. The example given was next day, often sounding like next day. That sound just gets skipped.
Next day. Wow. Okay, so linking, reduction, dropped sounds.
Right. And the source gave a really good example sentence. What do you want to do?
Okay, standard question.
But in fast, natural speech, it very easily becomes, what do you want to do?
What do you want to do? Yeah, that sounds completely different if you're expecting what do you want to do, piece by piece.
It really does. And if your main exposure is written English, that's a huge jump.
No kidding. It sounds like learning a secret code sometimes.
Kind of. And another source really dug into those drop sounds, specifically the T and D sounds.
Ah, those troublemakers. What did it say?
Well, it pointed out that the tot sound often disappears when it's followed by another consonant sound.
I think give me an example.
Like lightning, becoming lightning.
Lightning, yeah.
Or left side sounding like left side.
Left side, right, that just vanishes.
Exactly. Or next door as next door.
Next door. Okay, that pattern makes sense. What else?
The tot also often gets dropped when it comes after an N sound.
After an N.
Like
in
don't understand. You often hear it as do understand.
Do understand. Wow.
Or went outside as went outside.
Went outside. Okay.
And the big one, of course, want to becoming.
Wanna. Everyone knows wanna. That poor 10 doesn't stand a chance there.
It really doesn't. It just gets smoothed over.
And it's not just the T, is it? You mentioned D sounds, too.
No, the D gets dropped quite a bit, too.
Oh.
Especially after an N and before another consonant.
Okay, like in.
Weekend plans. Often sounds like weekend plans.
Meals and plans, huh? Never consciously noticed that, but yeah.
And think about the word and. Super common word, right?
Yeah, everywhere.
Well, it very often gets reduced just to or sometimes even just a nasal N sound between words. Bread and butter.
Bread and butter, right. So those little connecting words get squish.
They really do. It's like compressing the less important bits to keep the flow going.
Makes sense for efficiency, I guess.
And interestingly, this source also mentioned that linking can happen with these dropped sounds.
How does that work?
So if you have most thoughtful, even if the T in most isn't super strong, the words can still blend, sounding like most thoughtful.
Most thoughtful. Okay.
Or red dress becomes almost one word. Redress.
Redress, yeah. Or like credit cards sometimes sounds like credit card.
Exactly. Or cold call as cold call.
Hmm.
It's all about that smooth transition.
Which brings us to another term I saw, catenation. Sounds a bit fancy.
It does sound a bit academic, doesn't it? But the idea is actually pretty simple. Catenation is just when a consonant sound at the end of one word links up smoothly with a vowel sound at the beginning of the next word.
Okay, so consonant into vowel.
Yeah. Instead of a little pause, they join up. The example was live in an old house.
Leaves-hobbled.
Exactly. Leave ein old house. Or shrugged it off.
Trugaditas.
Shrugged it off. See how those word boundaries just kind of blur?
Yeah, it really emphasizes the flow over the individual words.
That's the key. Spoken language prioritizes that continuous sound stream. Our brains are wired for it, really.
Okay, so this connecting, reducing, dropping, it all makes it sound faster if you're expecting separate words. That definitely clears things up. Now, something else that's everywhere in casual talk, contractions and reductions. Gotta, wanna, gotta.
Oh, absolutely essential. If you want to understand everyday spoken English, you have to get comfortable with these. And using them helps you sound more natural, too. Helps you speak English more confidently.
Totally. Several sources highlighted these, didn't they?
Yes, they emphasized how incredibly common they are. Gonna for going to is probably the most famous one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. You barely even hear the toe anymore. The whole syllable just disappears.
It does. And wanna for want to. It's like the toe sound softens and merges.
I want to know. You hear it constantly.
All the time. And then there's gotta,
Right.
which is super useful because it covers gotta, have to, even need to.
Right. I gotta go. Simple, direct. A staple.
Exactly. And one source, Learning Reductions, had a whole list of others like ofta for have to,
Hafta
hasta for has to.
Pasta. Okay.
And those ones like would have, could have, should have,
Oh, yeah. How did they get reduced?
they often become woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Almost like one syllable.
Pretty much. It's like a verbal shorthand people use without even thinking.
It really is. What other kinds of shortcuts were on that list?
Well, things like let me, give me, forgive me.
Yeah.
Trina for trying to.
Trina. Heard that one.
Even prepositions get shortened sometimes.
Hmm?
Front of can be fruna.
Fruna. Okay, that's a new one for me.
And out of as outa.
Yeah.
Exactly. And common pairs like lot of and kind of.
Lotta, kinda. Definitely use those myself all the time.
See, they're infectious. And that source pointed out that mastering the big three, gonna, gotta, probably gives you the biggest bang for your buck initially.
Makes sense. They're everywhere.
But it's not just single words, right? Sometimes whole phrases get compressed.
Yeah, what were the examples there?
Well, get you can sound like get you.
Get you. Right.
And questions often get smushed. Don't you might become don't ya or don't you.
Don't you think? Yeah.
Did you can sound like did you.
Did you go?
Okay. Even things like what do you or what are you often turn into what dia or what
What I think. Very common.
and greetings. What's up becomes what's up.
Mm.
Or even just sup.
Sup. The ultimate reduction.
Pretty much. It's amazing how much gets squeezed out.
It really is. Any other interesting ones?
Yeah, a few more like what's his for what is his, what's her for what is her.
What's her name? What's her problem? Okay.
Dunno for don't know.
Dunno. Classic.
And verbs with pronouns like tell her, tell him, tell them. Often tell her, tell him.
Tell her, tell him. Right.
Same with told her, told him, told her, told him.
Told him.
Yeah. And to them can become to him. And even I'm going to has another form sometimes. Ima or I'm unna.
You may do it. I'm unna try. Huh. That's quite the list.
It is. It can look overwhelming written down like that.
Yeah, a little bit.
But the key thing is you pick these up through listening. And one point made, I think it was in a Reddit discussion someone shared, was crucial. While these are super common in speaking, even sometimes in informal work settings, you generally want to avoid them in formal writing.
Right. Good distinction. Keep gonna for speaking, right? Going to.
Generally, yes. It's about knowing the context.
Okay, so we've got a much better idea why English can sound so fast, all this connecting, reducing, contracting. Now, the really important bit, what can we actually do about it? How can we train our ears and, improve our listening comprehension?
Right, let's get into the practical strategies. This is where all those sources really offered some gold.
Okay, what's top of the list?
Consistently, the advice was listen actively and listen diversely.
Actively and diversely. Okay, what does that mean in practice?
Active listening means really paying attention, not just having English on in the background. Diverse listening means getting exposure to lots of different kinds of English.
So not just sticking to, say, news reports read very clearly.
Exactly. You need the messy stuff, too. Podcasts with different accents and topics, YouTube videos that aren't just polished TED Talks, movies, reality TV.
Chat shows, maybe, where people are just talking naturally.
Perfect example. The more unscripted, natural conversation you hear, with different voices, different speeds, different ways of connecting words, the more adaptable your ear becomes.
That makes sense. Train for the real world, not just the classroom.
Precisely. Now, another technique that came up repeatedly is called shadowing.
Shadowing. I've heard of this. It's like repeating, right?
It's a bit more intense than just repeating after someone. The idea is to speak along with the speaker, trying to match them as closely as possible in real time, or with a tiny delay.
Oh, wow. So mimicking their pronunciation, rhythm, intonation, everything.
Exactly. You're trying to become their shadow vocally. It forces you to pay incredibly close attention to how they're actually producing the sounds, the stress, the melody of the language.
That sounds challenging, but I can see how it would train your mouth and ear together.
It's very effective for that reason. It helps internalize those pronunciation nuances and speech patterns. It's not just repeat after me, it's speak along with me.
Speak along. Okay, got it. What's next?
Another really powerful idea is learning English in chunks.
Chunks. You mean like groups of words?
Exactly. Instead of focusing only on individual vocabulary words, focus on the groups of words that naturally occur together.
Like fixed phrases or common pairings?
Yeah, fixed expressions like the thing is, or by the way. Collocations, words that love hanging out together like make a decision, not do a decision. Idioms, set phrases like, as far as I know. Even those little discourse markers like, actually.
So learning these blocks of language.
Yes, because when you hear these chunks in fast speech, your brain recognizes the whole unit instantly. It doesn't have to process each word individually. It makes listening much less taxing and helps you anticipate what's coming, builds vocabulary and context too.
That's smart, like recognizing familiar riffs in music again.
Exactly that. And related to chunks is deliberately focusing on those linking sounds we talked about earlier.
Okay, how can we practice that specifically?
Well, consciously listen for them. Notice how that consonant links to the vowel like dogin becoming dogin.
Dogin.
Notice vowel to vowel linking, maybe with that little J or W sound inserted, like I actually becoming I actually, or two apples is two W apples.
Those apples, right?
Or notice when sounds don't link, like maybe a drop H in some accents, in his becoming in is.
In is pocket, okay.
And one source had a great practical tip. Try saying sentences aloud, but imagine you're singing them. Really stretch out the sounds and focus on connecting them smoothly, like it's one long note or phrase.
Singing sentences, I like that. Makes it less intimidating somehow. Feel the flow.
Exactly. Get that physical feeling of connecting sounds. It helps your own speaking confidence, too.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned a specific sound earlier, the schwa, that it was really important.
Ah, yes, the mighty schwa. It sounds technical, but it's just that super relaxed, neutral vowel sound, like the A in about or the air in teacher.
Ah,
That's the one. The ah sound. And here's the kicker. It is the most common vowel sound in English.
No way. That little
Yep. It pops up in all sorts of unstressed syllables and reduced words like for, was, can. Because it's represented by different letters, learners often miss it or mispronounce it. But tuning into the schwa, recognizing where it occurs, is huge for understanding the rhythm and sound of natural speech.
So, gotta learn to love the schwa.
You really do. It's the hidden key sometimes. Now, a slightly different kind of tip, more about mindset.
Okay.
Be okay with not understanding everything.
Ooh, that's interesting. Tell me more.
One source really stressed this. It's called tolerance for ambiguity. When you're listening to fast speech, don't panic if you miss words or even whole phrases.
Easier said than done sometimes.
True. But trying to catch every single word is exhausting and often makes you miss the main point anyway. Focus on getting the gist, the main idea. It's okay if some bits are blurry. Persistence is key.
So relax a bit, focus on the big picture.
Exactly. And if you do want to go back and figure out what you missed,
Yeah.
use transcripts or subtitles. But strategically, listen first without them. Really try to understand. Then listen again with them to check your understanding, see exactly where the words connected, what sounds were reduced or dropped. It's fantastic for targeted practice.
Listen first, then check.
Yeah.
Got it. Good method.
And this ties back to vocabulary, too. One article strongly argued that a limited vocabulary is often the biggest barrier.
Makes sense. Can't understand words you don't know.
Right. But the emphasis was again on learning vocabulary in context, learning those chunks, those phrases, how words are actually used in sentences, not just memorizing word lists.
So chunks again really seems important.
It kept coming up. And a couple of final quick tips. Pay attention to hesitation sounds.
Like, and,
Yeah,
yeah.
like, well, natural speech isn't always smooth. These fillers can actually give you clues about the speaker's thought process, buy you a split second to catch up. Also, watch nonverbal cues if you can see the speaker gestures, expressions. They add meaning.
Good point. Communication isn't just words.
And the last one, maybe the most important, practice speaking.
Ah,
It always comes back to that, doesn't it?
it really does. The better you get at producing these connected speech features, the linking, the reductions, the easier it becomes to recognize them when you hear them. Speaking and listening are two sides of the same coin. Improving one helps the other. Builds that confidence cycle.
So understanding fast English isn't some magic trick. It's a skill you build.
Exactly. It's about focused practice, knowing what to listen for, the connected speech, the reductions, the linking, and actively training your ear and your mouth.
And it sounds like consistency is key.
Oh.
Even small bits of focused practice regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't need hours every day. But regular, focused listening, maybe some shadowing, learning vocabulary in chunks.
Yeah.
It all adds up. You will see improvements in your listening comprehension and your speaking confidence.
That's really encouraging. So, okay, as we wrap up, maybe a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah, I guess think about this. Getting better at understanding fast. Natural English isn't just about, passing a test or understanding a movie better.
It's really about deeper connection, isn't it? When you can follow the natural flow, the rhythm, the nuances of a conversation, you can participate more fully, more naturally, more confidently.
It opens doors.
It really does. To new conversations, new relationships, new learning, new experiences through English. So maybe reflect on which of these strategies we talked about today feels most doable, most relevant for you right now. And think about how you could start weaving just one of them into your routine. What's the first step you could take?